Well, hello everyone. So I'd like to tell you a story, maybe 3 or 4, and I don't know how it's going to go because it's my third time trying to make this video, and so I'm gonna try. So I want to start off by saying, if anybody's been listening to things that I've said in the past, I'm sure you've heard this before, but I personally believe that someone should be allowed to do whatever they want to do in life as long as you don't negatively affect someone else's. Okay? And I want you to remember this while I go through this conversation. Now, for the past 2 years, I've been kind of sort of doing an experiment. Okay? And it's an experiment that, one, I was curious because on the internet, online, and in the news, they say certain things about this particular subject. And I have been living my life. I'm 50 years old. I can say for the past 45, I've had a secret passion that over the past couple years, I have not kept it a secret and been trying things out and experimenting and doing some, things that society, internet society says I shouldn't do. So, let's see here. You know what? I'm going to drive to the beach and get me a blizzard. So we got enough time to talk about this. So, for the past 2 years, I have been wearing what would be considered feminine attire. Okay? If anybody's seen me, I have different shirts, and pretty much every single day, and I can think of 2 days when I didn't, and that was at my mom's funeral and when I went to go help move all my sister's crap and got her into a new home because she was in a bad situation. She was literally living in a shed behind someone's property, and she found a place, and so I helped her move because she couldn't get a U-Haul. So anyway, them are the only 2 times that I have not worn a skirt or tights or leggings or a dress or heels or something like that. That's the only 2 times I can remember in the past 2 years where I haven't done it. Now, I'm not here to tell you how to live your life or what you to think about it. I'm just going to tell you my personal experience and something that I enjoy doing. And, this is not a coming out video because I've been doing this for the better part of 45 years. Okay? Now, I do enjoy, and I've always had a fascination with women's clothing. Okay, I do not like the term cross-dresser. It has a lot of negative connotations in it. I consider myself a dude that has impeccable fashion sense. That's it. Okay, I'm not into pronouns. I'm not in all this stuff. I'm a ex-Marine, contractor, car builder, and I like to dress up. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay? I'm not gay. I guess I'm not straight because I don't really want to date anybody. I don't look at men and find sexual attraction, and with most women that I look at, I don't find sexual attraction. So whatever and all that pronoun crap that y'all want to say it is, fine, say whatever it is. But me personally, I just like me. Am I? What's the word when you only like yourself? Misogynist? No, I don't think that's it. But whatever the word is that where you only like yourself, that's what I am. Okay? I have family members that I care for. I have family members that I love. Everybody else, I don't know you. I don't give a shit. If you come into my life and we become friends, then I care about you. All that being said, I have to tell you what happened yesterday. Okay? So again, for the past 2 years, just about every single day, and I've put videos out here where you've seen it. There was 1 month that I wore skirts the whole entire month. That was like 2 years ago. I think a year and a half ago or whatever, around Christmas time, I had a whole month where every single day, jobs, buying storage units, everywhere I went, I was wearing heels. So all that being said, yesterday I stepped it up a lot. Okay, I had this rock and roll kind of outfit. It had like the big bell sleeves with rivets, and it was all like punk rock. And and then I was trying on different skirts, and they weren't really kind of, it's like, I don't really look right. It's not punk rock enough. So then I took off the skirt, and I was wearing like black pantyhose and some heels. And when I was like, okay, I want to show that off, but of course I can't show off my midsection. So I found this little skater skirt, like a pleated short skirt. And I had on some long earrings and everything else. And I went out, and me and a friend of mine, who ironically is hardcore liberal, but all that being said, we are good friends. We do have a lot of fun together. Politically, we do not agree at all, but we have a good friendship, and that bypasses that I don't want to say hatred, but a disagreement we have, okay? And I'll talk more about that if you want me to. But I went out, and I will say that I was borderline, I don't think, but I was borderline 80s hooker, and it wasn't intentional, it wasn't on purpose, but, just after halfway through the day, I'm like, maybe I overdid it a little bit. And she's like, no, you didn't overdo shit, And so we went out shopping, we went out and had lunch, and we were all over the place. I mean, we went to Lowe's, we went to contractor supply stores, because she was we're trying to get her garage, oh, sorry, I got a phone call and a message came up, says something. Hi, Susan, I see you calling. We'll talk later. So, anyways, we go out shopping, found some really crazy stores, by the way, and that'll be later too. But anyway, we went out everywhere, and I'm in heels. Sometimes I wear heel like boots, but I was in heels. I was all the way decked out. Again, no makeup. I don't do makeup. I'm not trying to deceive nobody. I'm not trying to make anybody think I'm a female, because I'm just a dude in a dress. That's it. Or a skirt, most likely. I don't really wear dresses either. I got some, but they don't look right on me. Too fat. So anyways, we go out and everything, and had a blast. I had a couple of weird looks, which to me, the looks that I got were the same ones that I would give a clown if I saw a clown in full makeup out in public. When you see a clown, you're like, what the fuck? It's kind of one of them things that what it is. You know what a clown is. But when you see it out in the real world, you kind of have to look at it. You can't not look at it. And I think there was some people that had that, that look toward me. But for the most part, and again, this goes for a 2-year span. For the most part, I've got nothing but either they ignore me or positive response. I have not had anybody come up to me in a negative way. In fact, my sister Susan, I have people in my family, they all know I do it. My mom knew it before she passed. It just, pretty much everybody who knows me knows I do it, because I'm not shy about it. I wear whatever I want to wear in public. I'm not exposing body parts. I'm not being vulgar about it. I wear nice stuff. I wear that's why, whenever I say I have expensive clothes, I do have a closet that's about $60,000. I do have over 300 pairs of shoes. Some I'm selling, most of them are mine. So, and I am opening up a clothing store, but again, that's secondary to this. This is something I've done since I was a kid. When I was in the Marine Corps, I did a little bit of female impersonation, and it, the club scene with the alcohol and the cigarettes and the drugs and the over-sexualization, that was not my scene. For a while, I was building, because of the way I dress sometimes, it led me into where I was building furniture, and then it kind of morphed into adult play furniture. And again, that got really weird, and and no fault to anybody who does that particular stuff, whether it's drag shows or club scene or anything else. It's not who I am. Okay, I don't do drugs, I don't smoke, I don't drink. The worst thing I do is eat American food. That's honestly, God, the worst thing I've ever done in my life is eat American food. So, but I just kind of wanted to say that, I listen to the people on the internet. I listen to the trans people who are pissed off at Republicans. I listen to Republicans who are pissed off at trans people. I listen to a lot of stuff, and I try to stay educated. So whenever I tell you, my experiences, they're real. They're not internet experiences. They're not online. They're not what the news media says. But, and if you don't know me, I live in Jacksonville, Florida. This is a reddish purple town. This very southern, a lot of churches here. But at the same time, we have a lot of liberal influences as well. And there's some things that I agree with the Democratic Party, not the liberal aspect of the Democratic Party, but there's some things that I agree about the Democratic Party. There's more things I agree with the Republican Party, but I really don't like either one of them. And this is my only little political part, but for what I found out by the way I dress, a lot of people automatically assume that I'm a certain way, and when I don't dress that way, they automatically assume I'm a certain way. So, because when I don't wear pink, then I look like a redneck, But the biggest thing I can tell you as far as the divide is the Republicans and the Democrats, for the most part, both agree that there's a problem. And realistically, the biggest thing is they disagree on how to fix the problem. Okay? So that's my whole spiel about the political party. Now, I don't know how we even got into that, but this is how my brain works. So, but like I said, this isn't anything that's an agenda. I just want to tell you that I dressed up. I had a wonderful time yesterday. I have a wonderful time every time I do. Okay? I can tell you that there are quite a few men that come up to me and like, how are you so brave to do it in public? I was like, because no one cares. I have yet to find one person that has had either the audacity, the balls, whatever you want to call it, to come up and confront me on the way I was dressed. And again, I'm not exposing body parts. I'm not being vulgar. I'm not pushing anything into anybody's face. If you go back and look at my old videos, if you see me pointing at a door or a reflection or a window, and you see I'm probably wearing something, girly, But, and just so we're clear, I have no interest in becoming a female. I am not trans. I don't really agree with the trans movement. Now, that being said, I have no problem if somebody wants to, if they're male and want to be a female, or a female want to be a male. I don't have a problem with that. Okay? And I don't have a problem if they want to spend the rest of their lives on drugs. I don't care if they spend tens of thousands of dollars in surgeries and thousands of dollars in makeup or prosthetics or whatever you want to spend. As long as you're over 18, or as long as you're a legal adult and wherever you're at, have fun with it. Okay? Me personally, I'm not a druggie. I don't think spending tens of thousands of dollars converting your shell, okay, to match who you are inside, I just don't see it. Okay? And again, I'm not a female. I'm not trying to be a female. There may be times that I play dress up and I play make-believe. Okay? And that may be on a night that I want to do it, and that's my choice to do it. But, I hate to even say this word because I don't believe it, but it's the only word I know. But someone who honestly believes that they are becoming a new species by drugs and surgeries, I think that's a little bit delusional. Okay? Not saying that they shouldn't do it, because this is America, this is the only place that a poor black boy turned into a rich white woman. Michael Jackson. So you can do whatever you want to do. But the way my mind works, the way I was raised, the people that have influenced me throughout my lifetime, I just can't see that. I see that as a big game of playing dress up or playing make-believe. And I play it too. I don't do it full time, but there are nights where I'll say, okay, or yesterday where I say, let's kick it up a notch and have some fun. You know, in fact, we're actually the woman that I was with yesterday, which is ironic because we go to thrift stores and she goes to the men's section, I go to the women's section. So, you know, and this kind of explains a lot of older stories in the past where I had to kind of skirt around things because I wasn't ready to say things. But, you know, just, it's been over 2 years. I thought by now somebody would have a problem with what I'm doing. You know, in fact, most people got a problem with the fact that I'm not, you know, trans. I mean, well, I won't say they had a problem with it, but they were really taken aback the fact that I wasn't trans. They're like, what? You're not trans? How can you not be trans? I was like, because I'm not. You know, but again, everybody has their own personal belief. Everybody has their own personal thing. I am not judging nobody in any way, shape, or form. Okay, but there are things that I honestly believe. You know, and if I was to have any kind of just strong opinion that I would like for someone else to understand, if you want to accept it, that's fine. But if you are trans, okay, and again, this is someone who I have wrestled with gender identity, I guess. And, you know, when I was younger, I was really confused. There's a lot of things that, you know, me having an infatuation with the clothing made me also think that I had to be a female, or I had to be a cross-dresser, I had to be different things. I mean, I don't even think trans was a word when I was dealing with this stuff. You know, it was cross-dresser or sissy, you know, or transvestite. That was the word that when I was a kid, you know. So, you know, I've had some issues, and luckily I've had some really smart people in my life that showed me how to figure it out for myself. You know, I had someone that I told in confidence, I was like, hey, you know, I was like, I really love wearing dresses. I love wearing skirts. I love the feel of it. You know, in fact, I will tell you my first experience with it as well. Sorry, my gum just split in 2 pieces for some reason. The gum I'm chewing, not my gums. But, I told him, I was like, you know, what do I do about it? I'm really thinking that I should have been born a female. And, you know, and again, being raised with 7 sisters and all my cousins are girls, and my dad left when I was young. So there's definitely some childhood, not trauma, but childhood experiences that, you know, I've been to probably more than my fair share of sleepovers and being with the girls and, you know, listening to the conversations. And that's probably why I'm single too, because I don't trust them. Women are sneaky as shit. So yes, I got, again, 7 sisters. I know things that I'm not supposed to know. But all that being said, you know, he said, well, you know, how do you feel about it? How do you want, you know, and I, you know, and over a period of conversations, he said, well, why don't you go look up how much it costs to have, you know, surgery? How much does it cost to do this? What are the effects on it? And I did the research. I mean, this is pre-internet. I'm making phone calls and stuff, you know. So, and I talked with people. I talked with, while I was in the military, I talked with a couple of psychiatrists and everything else. And, you know, and luckily they showed me a different way to look at what I was dealing with. And ever since then, I mean, for as long as anybody's known me, knows that I'm not a girly person. You know, I'm the first person to take a life or save a life. You know, I have no, nothing holds me back. Let's put it that way. You know, and when I say take a life, I mean, you know, if somebody was doing something really bad, I would be the one running toward, not away. So all that being said, I would never hurt anything that's innocent. So, but I really don't like bullies. But all that being said, if you are transgender and you do, you know, accept the fact that you're going to be that next person, if for some reason someone comes up and accidentally misgenders you, or if you have a family member that does not accept you for who you are, do not get mad, do not cancel them, do not threaten them, which I've seen a couple of them do. You know, again, I've had a lot of people in my life, both transgender, gender identity, and both that are anti-transgender gender identity. So I've been in a melting pot that you guys don't understand. But there are going to be people, family members, who will not accept who you are And it may take time for them to do that. Okay, they may never accept you. And you have to understand that you changed, not them. They're still staying who they are. And you don't have to like it, okay? I'm not saying because someone doesn't accept you for being a boy or a girl that you have to hate them or they hate you. Okay, but you do have to understand that if you have parents that are, struggling with your gender identity, or maybe not wanting you to be chemically induced when you're, definitely underage. That is a big no-no for me. But, let's say you're 19, 20, 25, and all of a sudden you're taking hormones and you're getting implants or, whether it be top or bottom surgery, whatever you're doing. Okay? Understand that parents gave birth to you, family members helped raise you. There's a lot of things that it may take time or it may never happen, but you are the one that changed to be the person that you want to be. Everybody else who may have an issue with it, whether it be temporarily or permanently, raised you to be someone else. They want the best for you, sometimes at your own behest. Like, you may not agree that it's the best for you, and sometimes it is. I'm glad that when I was thinking about going through hormones and going through everything, which for a very small time I did, about 6 months, and it went away. And ever since then, I've been fine with who I am and what I do. And, if I decide that I want to wear, an Armani suit, then I'm going to wear an Armani suit. If I decide I want to wear a Liz Claiborne dress, then I'm going to wear a dress. Because, again, 2 years. I'm expecting, in some cases, like I was hoping just for YouTube content, that something would happen. Nothing. Nobody cares. I mean, I've been to this Dairy Queen in full everything. They're like, hey, how you doing? Now, all that being said, what they say behind my back doesn't hurt my feelings, because I don't know, And if anything that I could tell you, if you are struggling or if you have family members or whatever, okay, whatever you're thinking about a person, it's like I go and I see people. In fact, I could tell you a famous person right now that when I first saw him, thought he was a complete piece of shit, everything else, and he even agrees he was a piece of shit back in the day. But there's an entertainer called Tom McDonald, and he has some of the most offensive right-wing music videos out there, okay? And they're hilarious. I think they're funny as hell, but he has a way of pushing buttons that certain people don't like. But that's the thing, is if you look at him, you think degenerate, you think, just all these things, and to his expression, everything that makes him look that way was from back when he was, and he changed the person he was to become the person he wanted to be. Now, some people like it, some people don't. It's kind of like an analogy that I can think of, that most people on the internet know who Tom McDonald is. He's a white rapper, fully tattooed. I would not hire him if I met him. Let's put it that way. So, but all that being said, I wanted to tell you that I'm going to be doing things. You may see more stuff. I'm not trying to press anything on you. I'm still who I am. I'm a dude with impeccable fashion sense. Yeah, I don't know what else really to say. So, well, I could tell you the first time when it all started. So I did say I was going to say that, put that toward the end. So back when, in between 5 and 7 years old, because I know it's before my mom remarried, and my mom struggled. She couldn't get normal jobs, and she had some paperwork put on her that made it hard for her to just go out and have a normal life. So she was a street hustler. She was an antique dealer. She bought at garage sales, sold at the flea market, where I get a lot of my information from. God, I hope I don't cry over this. Hold on a second. Okay. So anyways, she was a good person. So there was this one store called Vogue, and it was at Now remember, I'm 5-7 years old. I remember everything about this day. But I'm thinking of other things as kind of sad memories. So I'm trying to get that out, and let's focus on this. But a store called Vogue. Right now, there is at the corner of Beach and Parental Home. There used to be an old Blockbuster, and then right next to it, there's like, right now, it's like a trailer store. They sell like truck parts and trailer parts. Well, that used to be a clothing store, and it was kind of like a Ross, where it had like, you know, mismatched or old styles or irregular clothing and things like that. But she used to go in there shopping because everything was discounted. And I think at the time she was working for either JCPenney's or Revlon, or it might have been a secretary, because she had an office job for a little while. But again, she had a hard time, you know, because she had some paperwork on her for stupid shit when she was a kid. But anyways, so she went in there, and usually, you know, as a little kid, you're running around and you're hiding in the clothes, and you're, you know, underneath the racks and stuff. But I mean, even to this day, I still see kids running in the racks and under the clothes. And they had this little circle rack, like when you walk in the store, it was in the far right hand corner, and they had a little one of the circle racks, and it was all the prom dresses. And I remember I ran in there and I just hid, you know, because I was playing hide and seek with myself. You know, and I hid in the center, and I was sitting there, and all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute. I'm looking around, I'm like, man, these feel nice. And it was like the satin and the taffeta, and, you know, I don't know all the fabrics, but it was, you know, it's really soft, really just, and I absolutely fell in love with them dresses. You know, and even then, I love the fabric. Like today, this shirt I'm wearing, it's really soft, it's comfortable. I'm wearing some flared, like black, I guess they're leggings, but they're flared at the bottom, and some like industrial pink boots, you know. They match the shirt. But, you know, it's more about the way I feel, the fabrics, everything, because wearing jeans suck. You know, just putting on a pair of Wranglers, and they're scratchy and itchy, and they're all like stiff, and if you bend over, they cut off your circulation in the back of your leg, and, you know, I'm just saying, you know, me personally, this is my personal experience, has nothing to do with anybody else, but that was the first time that I absolutely just like, okay, I want more of this feeling, you know. And I don't think I've ever told anybody this story, but anyway, that was the first time. So, you know, and I've been down a very weird road because of this fetish or this lifestyle I've chosen, you know, but I'm to a point now, you know, I really don't care what people think. I'm old, I'm fat. Well, not as fat, I'm still losing weight. I'm down to 246, so I've lost another 4 pounds since I hit 250. But yeah, it's just, I mean, I used to think people care, and it's always been in my mind that other people care what I wear, and nobody cares. If they do, nobody's saying anything, you know. And I think if you are, you know, wanting to experiment with fashion, if you want to do different things, just go do it. You know, don't try to pressure nobody. Don't throw it in people's face. If someone asks, be polite, you know. And of course, my personal thing, don't be vulgar about it. You know, if you know, I've seen cross-dressers on video where they're going outside and their balls are half hanging out the skirt, and, you know, I mean, that's trashy. I mean, if you want to, you know, if you're going to a club or a fetish nightclub or something, that's a different story, but you don't go out in Walmart wearing some trashy ass hooker outfit, okay? So, you know, there is lines to where you are making it bad for everybody else. So, but yeah, it's, I mean, you gotta figure, I'm 50 years old. I was raised in the 80s and the 90s when I was a kid, okay? I grew up with rock and roll hair bands, Boy George, you know, you have Kiss, you have Motley Crue, you got all these rock and roll things. Then you figure, okay, what was the cartoons like? Well, you know, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Flintstones, you know, the Doom Buggy thing, speed buggy, or whatever they all had little moments of cross-dressing where they had to hide or do something different, where they had to transform. I mean, it's been part of the American culture since the beginning of time. It's been, I mean, hell, okay, let's take it back a little bit. Let's take it back. And I'm not defending nobody. I'm not trying to say we should all cross-dress, but I'm going to tell you, it wasn't until I think the mid 1700s or mid 1800s that the jeans were invented. Before then, we had loin pants with tie knots, and most men wore skirts. In most of the world, except for Western society, men still wear skirts. You look at the Philippines, you look at, the whirling dervishes, you look at most religious attire is gowns. It's always a gown. It's never a suit, you know. You look at the Scots? Is it the Scottish? Ireland, yeah, I think it's the Scottish that had the kilts. You know, you look at the fact that wigs were invented for men, heels were invented for men, tights were invented for men. The Romans and the Greeks used to paint their fingernails before going to battle. Throughout history, women weren't allowed to be in theater, so anytime a woman was portrayed, it was a man dressing up. Look at the pirates. You know, I mean, we can go, that's a rabbit hole of clothing that, you know, you do realize women were not on the ship, so you had men that were that's why captains can marry people, is because of piracy, and it's because of the fact that you had men marrying effeminate men, you know. So, I mean, if you want to go back through history, the fact that we, as our, you know, the current American state has bastardized fashion when it's been part of male history since the beginning of time. I mean, last time I checked, you know, well, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. Let's just say a lot of people during the Roman time wore skirts or dresses or togas. I mean, it's, you know, so if you do decide that you want to experiment and someone does have a problem with it, you know, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it just, I have created arguments for for fake people coming up and confronting me and trying to demonize what I do. That's never happened. No one's ever came up to me and said, you shouldn't be doing that. Actually, hold on one second here. This piece of gum is pissing me off. Excuse me. I got a trash can right here. But, oh yeah. If you ever saw the leopard print fabric that was here, that was a dress that was my backup dress. In case for some reason my clothes got messed up or something happened, I had a pair of leggings and a dress. That was that, if you ever go back on the old videos and that little leopard thing, that's what that was. I always keep an extra set of clothes just in case I have a wardrobe malfunction. So, what was I just saying? Shit, I done got sidetracked. Ah, crap. I know you know what I just said, but my brain does weird things. Like, and I am a weird person. I will say that I do not fit in with 99% of society. You know, it's like, you know, the conservatives don't like me because I wear, well, I won't say they don't like me, because again, the conservative media doesn't like me because of the fact that I wear dresses, I wear heels, you know, and then the liberal media doesn't like me because I'm not a liberal. So I tell people all the time, I'm the most hated person in America. I think I've said it a couple times on the, you know, but again, that's a statement that doesn't have any grounds in reality. You know, I'm sure there's people out there who hate me, and that's fine. I have no problem with someone hating me. It's the same feeling as people like me. You know, I have a different way of looking at the world. So, but, you know, as a recap, is like, you know, most people don't really care. I mean, unless you have like friends, family right around you, and you just all of a sudden say, oh, by the way, you know, I'm wearing a skirt today. They may be taken a little aback, but most people don't care, you know. And I have a good family that, for the most part, you know, there's certain people that I don't hide from them, but I I'd rather not have to deal with them, not because of anything that I do or who they are, but because of the fact that they're vindictive and they would figure out some way to try to get me in trouble, you know, which I already know the only way technically I can get in trouble is that in the state of Florida, and I've done a lot of research, the only illegal piece of clothing that I can wear, and I do want to make a video on this, I'm talking to a couple lawyers to help guide me in the right way, but it is illegal in the state of Florida for a man to wear a strapless gown, and that is on the books. And so all my gowns have straps, just so I'm not illegal. And I did find one that I am going to test the waters to see how illegal it is. But and that will probably be the first time that you guys will ever see me in a dress fully, because I'm going to do a full video out in public in this gown that I have that's strapless. But I'm trying to find, like, I have the Florida statute, but I'm trying to find, like, you know, who voted the law into place and what had to happen for that particular, like, why a strapless gown? What happened that was so horrendous that a man wore a strapless gown and it had to become law that no one could do it anymore in the state of Florida? So, and if for some reason, or if anybody knows where a video has already been made about that subject, please let me know about it. But yeah, it's, you know, I'm honestly just curious. I've talked to a couple people and they're like, oh, well, you know, I ain't got time and everything else. So I'm probably going to pay a few $100s to, you know, find this information, because I really honestly want to know, you know, like, who voted the law into place and what the hell happened. You know, same story, a little off topic, but, you know, while I'm thinking about it, they took it off the books, but there was a law in the book that a single woman cannot skydive on a Sunday. And that was a legitimate law on the books here in Florida. Man, 40 minutes. And again, it's a funny law, and we joke about it, you know, the people on the internet. But I want to know what the hell happened to make a single or widowed woman not be allowed to skydive only on Sunday. Any other day is fine, just not on Sunday. So again, it's, you know, it's not about necessarily the law being bad. It's a stupid law, but I want to know what the hell happened to make that a law, you know. So, and that's what I'm trying to find out for you guys. So, and there's going to be, like, you know, I've done videos of me buying clothes, and I'd like to do more haul, you know, where I buy stuff and show you guys. And I've never been able to do that because this is something that, you know, I have not hidden from the internet, but I have not explicitly talked about it on the internet. So, you know, now everything's out there, you know, and yeah, so now you know. And knowing's half the battle. Did you know on the channel, Hasbro has a channel where you can watch old G.I. Joe cartoons? I've been watching a lot of old G.I. Joe cartoons. They're a little stupider now, but they're still good. I mean, you know, Thundercats, I don't know what, Thundercats was awesome as a kid, but they're horrible as an adult. But, you know, G.I. Joe, it still holds up pretty good, so. And knowing's half the battle. And now you know. So, yeah. I don't know what this does to any future videos. I don't know if there's going to be any negative thing, which, again, if there is, it's only going to be on the internet, because no one has came up to me. You know, and if for some reason you are, you know, in the mindset to where you enjoy women's clothing, or if you're a female and wants to dress like a dude, you know, which I did know a couple of female to male presenters, or they're not drag queens, but they're drag kings, and some of them went on to pretty good lucrative careers. Some of them, you know, got involved in the underbelly of the drag shows, and, you know, the chemicals took too much of their life. But yeah, if you want to do it, I mean, you know, there's nothing stopping you. You know, and again, I have been through the center spine of Florida to small town redneck Crackerville. And if you know what a cracker is a Florida cowboy. I've been all the way to Naples. I've been, you know, every gas station in between. I've sat down. I mean, anytime, whenever I took the trips, anytime I'm out in public for the past 2 years, consistently, either heels, top, or skirt. The bottoms, I don't think I own it. I think I might own like 3 or 4 pairs of shorts. Every single thing I own is tights, leggings, or skirts. Honest to God, you know, I can't think, if I had to go to a official event and wear, like, you know, just a regular pair of jean shorts, it'd probably take me, I'd have to go through boxes. Like, I couldn't tell you where a short is in my house right now. So, you know, if you have any kind of inclination that you want to do it, and again, I'm not pressuring or saying that you have to, but nobody cares. And if they do, fuck them. You know, they'll get used to it. You know, I've had a bunch of new friends. I have lost a couple of friends, and I don't have a problem with that. There's one friend in particular, which we're still friends, but he told me that he doesn't want me coming over his house because he has a child there, and I told him I fully understand. I said I still want to be friends with you. I still, you know, I call him up every so often to see how he's doing, but that line was drawn, and I respect that line. You know, I'm not gonna say it hurt my feelings, because the only time I ever went to his house was to fix stuff on his house. So, you know, that being said, I mean, he had a couple of parties, but I'm not a party person. I was uncomfortable there. Everybody's drinking, everybody's smoking, everybody's doing the things that they do, and I'm just kind of sitting there, you know. In fact, I have another channel where they blew up a firework and it threw fire all over, and I was inside the van. So, and that was years and years ago. But, you know, but I mean, I did this while I was in the Marine Corps. I've done this my entire life. You know, I snuck things when I was a kid. I mean, it's, you know, and the only thing that I say, if anything, don't make it about the sex. Make it about the fashion. You know, if there is someone who is experimenting that is a child, just, if they want to play dress up, let them play dress up. You know, just say, hey, you know, right now this isn't the thing that's accepted in society, so if you do it, people are going to treat you differently than if you don't do it. You know, and just kid gloves. Don't, you know, just because a little boy wears a dress, don't say, oh, we got to put you on hormones, you're a female now, because that's an idiotic way to do it. You know, I mean, I'm not the person who I was when I was 10. I'm not the person who I was when I was 18. I'm not the person who I was when I was 35. You know, I have changed my life so many damn times, and I am blessed to have 2 people that told me enough to where I didn't condemn myself to be a permanent, you know, medical patient, you know, to where I'm constantly injecting myself with drugs. And if you've made that choice, that's your choice to make. But I'm glad I didn't go down that road, because at the end of the day, I will never be a female. And again, this is when I was thinking I might have wanted to be one. But, you know, no matter how much money I spend, no matter how many drugs I take, you know, as soon as I stop taking money, as soon as I stop taking drugs, guess what I'm going to turn back into? Me. So I just said, you know what? I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And I'm going to try my very best to not negatively affect anyone else's life. On that note, I'm going to get a blizzard. Peace, love, money. I'm out.